Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lisa Goslin. I am on the Microsoft Security Partner Development Team. I've been at Microsoft for coming up to 3 years. I've been in cybersecurity for 25 plus years, but that sounds way too old. So I'm going with 20 plus years. It's a pleasure to be speaking with you today. I'm going to get us started, but first let me allow Mona a minute to introduce herself, and then we'll kick it off. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. My name is Mona Gadiri. I'm the Director of Product Management at BlueVoyant. I have the pleasure of working with Lisa on our Microsoft relationship, and I'm excited to talk to you guys today about cyber insurance and some challenges and opportunities. So let me go ahead and get the agenda going here.
This is session 2 from a 3-part series. This is really about education for you folks on the phone, specifically educating you on cybersecurity and cyber insurance to the education market. And the first session was my colleague John Schmelzis and Mona talking about cybersecurity, cyber insurance. Why is this so difficult with the insurance companies? How are they able to score a company's risk posture, and what are we doing around it? We also talked about the customers and some of the challenges they're facing, and we framed that in a 4 C's, which were contracting the economy, what's going on with the inflation and recession, cost of defending, the complexity, which I'll come back to during the course of the session today, because this is really dang hard. We can talk to you about the things you need to do in order to improve your risk posture, but it's not a one and done type scenario. And that's why the partnership with BlueVoyant is so important. You really need somebody like BlueVoyant who has the expertise and skill set to help you on the cybersecurity journey, 24/7, eyes on glass, and proactively out there looking for these bad actors out there. We'll look at some stats on the threat landscape. What are the latest threats, what's going on in the market, and then talking about the partnership, which is near and dear to my heart. As Mona said, we work closely together and have had great success in building this out and really being able to provide customers not just a secure risk posture and hopefully cyber insurability, but also a return on investment, which we understand is also crucial for you folks. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mona.
Thanks, Lisa. So just at a high level, the real cost of security failure is tremendous. I love these stats because just understanding 1 minute's impact for me was I feel like it's so easy to see a bear running at you, but it's so hard to contextualize and really feel the burn of just how bad cybersecurity and cybersecurity threats are, today in our environment, right? And whether you're measuring that in damages, email compromises, scams, the cost of cybercrime is tremendous, and it's just not going down. And so what has that meant? And we talked a little bit about this in our last conversation, but cybercrime is up, right? It's more profitable than the global trade of all major illegal drugs. That's a lot, right? More exponentially larger than the damage inflicted by natural disasters. And the insurers are feeling it, right? They're the ones who are getting pinched right now. And you can see in this chart on the right, direct loss ratios, U.S. cyber insurers as really peaked in 2020 and 2021. We see a little decrease, but still, compared to years previously, we're seeing a tremendous increase. So we have to do something. The insurance companies had to do something. And so that really has translated to stricter criteria to those applying for coverage, right? And that is, specifically, anybody who gets federal funding, those who are, have sensitive data beyond kind of that credit card, PCI data that used to be, all you would have to do was say that you were logging stuff, right? But that's really not enough. Logging is reactive, right? Controls, cyber hygiene, things like better posture authentication processes are really what are saving folks money, because the premiums, if you can't prove it, you're going to pay for it. Everyone is a 16-year-old male driver in New York City, when it comes to cyber insurance, right? And that's just, if I haven't been in a car accident and I use Drive Safe and Save, shouldn't I get the same benefit, driving a car that you do to your cyber insurance? I think the market is saying yes, right? Not everybody is behaving like a 16-year-old car driver, right? Nothing against those drivers. It's just really about experience, right? And Lisa mentioned these 4 C's, right? The risk of attacks, the cost to defend, the contraction in our economy, and the complexity, right? There are ways to combat these outside of it, even just thinking about cybersecurity. And they really come back to things like lean manufacturing or the Toyota process, right? Having the right tools in the right place to do the right thing and making it easy, right, is really going to be what gets us to a better posture place, right? So having too many tools, if you were at a workbench and you were told to use a hammer to drive in a screw, you would say that's insane. We have the same problem, right? How many different appliances do you need in your kitchen if really what you're trying to do is just peel a potato, right? We don't need to overcomplicate. We don't need extra complexity, whether those are security tools or, things in your kitchen, or, we're talking about education, right? How many books do you need? How many books are you asking for your students to pay for, right? That's really tough to ask them to pay for 60 books. We have to do it better, right? And in the same way that the way that textbooks have changed and the way that people buy and use course material has changed, the same thing is happening in cybersecurity. So what do the underwriters really care about? What has really made it standardized, or what is happening right now that makes things standardized? And I look to our partnership with Microsoft and things like Secure Score and posture management as being heuristics that an insurance provider can use to tell you how good or bad your posture really is, right? In lieu of having a government, sanctioned, set list of things you have to do, which, we're starting to see more of in CMMC, and we're starting to see more of in, like I said, those federally funded types of, engagements, but everyone else needs something. And I'm grateful that Microsoft has stepped up and, as the vendor, really said that this is what, we know good looks like. There is a bell curve. Basic hygiene is what's the most important, right? So things like MFA and versioning, least privilege, protecting your data, right? If you can demonstrate that you are doing those things, your cybersecurity premiums will go down, right? And you'll also see those same cost savings come through, not just in savings in insurance premiums, but also through simplicity. We're not buying 15 appliances that all promise to peel potatoes, right? We've got one that is the best potato peeler for your money that you could ever possibly get. And I use these crude analogies because I really think that cybersecurity gets overcomplicated because we have our own ways and words of talking about things. But fundamentally, the same things that you would do to protect your students, in a dorm room, or you would protect, your cybersecurity posture, they're really the same. We don't let students in, if they don't have their ID cards, right? MFA is an even better way of applying that in our digital ecosystem.
Hey, Mona, if I could just
absolutely, please chime.
Dot the I here. This 98% protection, if you had, so there's 5 pillars here that Mona said, and if you could, prioritize 3. So what I really want you to get out of these webinar series is walk away with actionable items, right? So if you could prevent 98% of the breaches out there, wouldn't you? So the 3 that I'm not going to say are easy, because there's nothing easy about cybersecurity, but they're actionable. MFA, as Mona said, least privilege access. You don't have to worry about, I've got to implement this whole zero trust and I don't even know what it's about. It is least privilege access. It's very easy to understand. Make sure that whoever's coming in has the least amount of access on your network. And then updated patching. Start with those three. Once you've got those nailed down, then you can look at protection on the endpoints and anti-malware, and then also protecting the data, the crown jewels. What do we really want to make sure that is under lock and key? But you know, I've gone to a couple of cyber insurance conferences, and I've talked to a lot of brokers. And what they tend to do is over pivot. You know, for cyber insurance, they're going to ask you 400 questions when really these are the 5 pillars we should be focused on. And though the 3 first are MFA, least privilege access, as well as updated patching.
Great, Ed. I appreciate that. And I do think that, whether you're looking for help, from a partner or you're looking for help from Microsoft, right? There are amazing Microsoft documentation on how to do these things. And the Microsoft security community is incredible. So small plug for the Microsoft private security community. If you are a Microsoft user, there are so many opportunities and ways to get help if you need help, just by tapping into the community. I happen to be one of the top 10 contributors this year, and I was the only woman in the top 10 list. So if you're out there and you want to participate, we need more people out there. So in terms of kind of moving into what we've been seeing historically and kind of with our existing customers, the common attack methods are largely phishing, social engineering, ransomware, and largely just folks being uninformed. So when it comes to phishing, right, obviously, there are plenty of different products you can use. There are lots of ways to peel your potato. But what we find is that folks who use the E5 Microsoft suite and start thinking about how all of these attacks actually are connected to each other, you can really see very quickly that the best way to kind of get as much coverage across those 3 attack methods is really to look at how Microsoft pulls together these different signals from these different consoles or these different parts of the attack journey and really interlaces those signals with each other, right? So the benefits of working with Microsoft and the justifications that you can use in your cyber insurance conversations really are because, while Lisa says you have to choose those 3, once those 3 are set up, all of those signals, whether they're Defender for Identity and they're coming from Active Directory or identity protection, or they're coming from Office 365 email, or they are those anti-malware things that are coming from Defender for Endpoint, our job is to make sure that it's as easy to lace these things together as possible. And so we use Microsoft Sentinel to do that. We're number 1 security partner in the United States right now, as far as Microsoft Global Partner Solutions is concerned. And it's because we recognize that Microsoft Sentinel paired with the E5 suite really does the best job of allowing us to get the right signals to prevent those bad things from happening. Or if they do happen, really try to contain, them wherever possible. So being able to take this story to your insurance provider and say, we have bought the tools, we implemented them properly. We can demonstrate that they are, being actively monitored by a partner like BlueVoyant, right? That concept of that drive safe and save, or that, insurance, car insurance, kind of example starts to make a lot of sense, right? You installed the security cameras. Your car has the, if somebody tries to break in, it will beep, right? You haven't had an accident in 6 months or 2 years or whatever, right? All of those things start to add up, and they should be part of your arsenal when you go back to talk to your brokers or talk to your providers about cyber insurance, because those are the exact data points to use to be able to justify that you're making the investments in the right place. You don't need to pay the premiums. So transitioning on this a little bit into kind of, I talked a little bit that, BlueVoyant uses Microsoft Sentinel and E5. I wanted to give you guys a little bit more insight into kind of how our MDR service, uses different parts of Microsoft, third-party logs, and really embraces this idea of MXDR in our solution. We're one of Microsoft's first MXDR partners that have gotten certified. It's the ability to demonstrate that you use M365 Defender, Defender for Cloud, and Sentinel as a comprehensive security program to decrease risk and increase that awareness and that kind of shared responsibility that security really is. Because sometimes what we find is that, especially with Microsoft customers, there are different teams that are support the tools, that are doing infrastructure things, that are doing identity access management, and it can be really difficult to find a way to harmoniously get to that place where we're all trying to ensure that we remediate threats quickly, we identify them quickly, we have good workflows. And so what BlueVoyant has built is a way to do content and inject new content. So new log sources, new detections that are ever evolving, right? There's a new 0 day, there's a new something happening. We want to make sure that the right log sources are being ingested into your SIEM so that you can detect those bad things, right? What good is it to deploy a log detection if you don't have that log source, right? So we really want to think about that problem of SIEM and then couple that with what Microsoft is really doing that's unique, right? Which is taking all of these signals, bringing SOAR directly into the SIEM conversation, bringing those behavior analytics and machine learning and those fusion rules directly to your front door, right? And so by bringing together the right data sources, the right tools, and then what we also add is our 24/7 SOC operations. We bring that in concert with ServiceNow. And so ServiceNow is our case management system. That's what our SOC analysts and threat intelligence teams use in addition to Microsoft Sentinel to investigate and adjudicate different cases. And then the last piece is really that BlueVoyant platform is really there to give you additional performance reporting, KPIs, metrics, as well as additional services that BlueVoyant happens to offer. So what is BlueVoyant's core MDR for Microsoft service? We really try to bring together expert implementation services, optimization, bring together that Microsoft, those three pieces of Microsoft that I mentioned, but for cloud, M365 Defender and Sentinel, and deliver that 24/7 SOC monitoring, high fidelity alerts, ensure that you get things that are validatable by a third party, right? So we use MITRE as our third party, but we want to make sure that every detection we have fits into Microsoft's Sentinel's MITRE map. In fact, I just had a meeting with some of the design team as the product group at Microsoft who are doing a new version of this of the MITRE map in Sentinel. But we want to bring together all of these pieces because we know that the pain of developing and implementing a really good SIM program to be able to show your insurance providers takes a lot of different inputs. And we want to be with you every step of the way. We want to make sure that you have a delivery team that helps you simplify complexity, that brings that 75 tools to a manageable number, that you don't have to give up anything with a partner. A lot of MDR services make you give up your data. We want to bring our SOC analysts to you using Lighthouse. We work inside your Microsoft environment. We want to make sure that you get the streamlined operational benefit from that. And as we consolidate and as we reduce your resource requirements and help you take advantage of the different Microsoft pieces, you're really going to see that value from Microsoft. And that's really what we enjoyed the most in this experience, is that by just doing what's simple and reducing that overhead, there's so many operational challenges that just melt away.
Mona, a few, if I could
please.
just put a few emphasis on some of the points that you made. To me, the superpower, I love superpowers, so I talk about it all the time. Microsoft has a few superpowers. It's our data and our telemetry and our native collaboration between all of these security products. However, BlueVoyant, when I look at your superpowers, first and foremost, you're out there actively proactively threat hunting. You're looking for what's up, what's next, what's coming. What does this look like? I mean, that is your superpower. That's what you do 24/7, eyes on glass. That goes directly to the protect and prevent, so that it never gets to the detect and remediate steps. So that's first and foremost. The second thing is I want to highlight BlueVoyant's service has been verified by Microsoft Engineering. So that's taking the seal of Microsoft and a gold star and putting it on the BlueVoyant service. This isn't for a lot of partners, it's for our top partners, and BlueVoyant was one of the first ones to get that. So just wanted to highlight that for the folks.
Awesome, thank you. So as we look into, what is BlueVoyant trying to provide around SOC metrics and insights and measurable results? One of the things that we love about Sentinel is that you can make a lot of workbooks, but it just doesn't quite give us the level of dexterity that we wanted to give. So what we've done is we interviewed over 70 CISOs, trying to understand from an MDR metrics perspective, what do customers really need? How should we be interpreting service level metrics? How do we get you detailed reports specifically about, how many new detections you have or how much something costs? So from our perspective, we really, really wanted to focus on making sure that SOC experience is about outcomes, right? We love telemetry and we love data, but what did you get from it? How did that become meaningful? How many analysts would you have needed to look at this data if you didn't have BlueVoyant, right? That's the kind of data we wanted to make sure was available for folks so they really understand how many hours, how much time does it really take to do this work. And the reality is, for those of you guys who've seen a webinar with me before, I like to talk about analogies and stories, but my favorite for thinking about SOC alerts is if you've ever seen I Love Lucy and the episode where they've got the chocolates on the conveyor and the chocolates just keep coming, right? And she's stuffing them in her shirt and they're stuffing them in their mouths. That's what's happening every second with your security alerts right now. If you don't have somebody like BlueVoyant helping you manage the line of chocolates, right? And so what I really want folks to get out of this is that, there is an infinite number of alerts that can be generated. You can reduce the number of those by having experts like BlueVoyant implement them, but somebody's still got to look at these alerts. Someone still has got to make sure the chocolates end up in the box or end up somewhere, right? Otherwise, the proverbial floor is littered with chocolates, right? And that's what I never want for any of you. So just because you don't see them or because they're in a console somewhere doesn't mean that there aren't bad things happening in your environment. Let us help. Let us help you get the metrics that you need and get the visibility that you deserve so that you understand just how much it costs your business to do this stuff. Because sometimes the metrics and being able to justify the investment is the hardest part. Because who can worry about the metrics when you're still worrying about the chocolates on the floor? So just, wanted to kind of bring us back to cyber insurance and kind of how to have a conversation with your broker. I'm really, and Lisa said this too, we want to leave you with actionable next steps, right? These premiums are going up. If you are using any of these cyber insurance providers, or even honestly, some of them, even if you don't see them on the list, right? Please reach out to us. We can help explain to them and give justification, especially if you have our services for rate decreases, potentially coverage issues, or if you are being pushed or somebody's telling you that you're not going to get coverage, right? By working with organizations to manage their risk and help, control their cyber costs, we can help with these things. We can talk to your insurers. We can explain that we are a mutual client, right? That the insurers have nothing to be worried about because they know us, right? So going back to that same concept, about not having a standardized way to measure this and using Microsoft to measure, right? These providers are coming to BlueVoyant and they're asking us to help them measure, right? And it makes sense, right? If you have a proactive monitoring service that's doing things like threat hunting, like Lisa was saying, right? And is doing proactive things like ensuring that you get new content or new deployments of new rules to your environment, right? Those are all great proof points for why you are doing a good job. You should get every bit of credit. Don't let this opportunity go by because you just didn't ask or you think that there's not an ability to impact the rates or the coverage that you can get. Just because they're telling you that you don't deserve it doesn't mean that that's the case. It may just be that they haven't connected enough dots to understand that BlueVoyant actually is doing a net positive thing, or they may just not have the justification to the right underwriters, right? which we can also provide. So the other kind of last call out thing I want for you guys to know that's available to you is a security assessment. So this is something that BlueVoyant and Microsoft have partnered on to provide to customers. If you want to look at your security posture, or you want to use your security posture as justification for why you deserve a discount in your cyber insurance premiums, please get in touch with us. Let us do one of these assessments. As we review and do the whole workshop, you'll get every proof point you need to be able to turn over to your cyber insurance premium, your cyber insurance provider to talk about your premiums, because these are the data points. This is the kind of meat, right? That providing to an underwriter really makes a difference. So I'm going to put some links in the chat. There's a QR code. I don't know how much you guys want to do QR codes. I totally get it. It's cybersecurity. But I really do want to emphasize that the ability for you guys to take advantage of these assessments and turn that into direct savings is a very, very approachable next step to ensure that if there are opportunities, you're not leaving them on the table. So anything to add on assessments, Lisa? Anything you want to add?
I think this is a very generous offer, and I can't see any reason why someone wouldn't take advantage of this. There is one thing I want to highlight, because when I look at the partnership and what you're doing with XDR and Sentinel, it's very different. I'll go back to my 20 years being in cybersecurity. It used to be you'd get a SIM, you'd take your data, customers would take their data, dump it all into the SIM. They'd have all these custom connectors and everything. What's different about this, and the reason why the BlueVoyant Microsoft partnership works, in my opinion, this is life according to Lisa, is because Mona and I are here because of you, the customer. If we don't have a customer, we're not here. So if you engage with BlueVoyant and Microsoft and you have this service, it used to be you couldn't just take this and bring it to someone else. This is your Sentinel tenant. It's your information. It's not duplicating, which it has its own vulnerabilities. It is your data. And if you're not satisfied with it, you take your ball and you go home. And you know
Absolutely.
what? And that is a huge shift in the cybersecurity market and with this offering. So I just want to make sure that was highlighted and people understood that, because our Sentinel SIM is not your traditional SIM.
That's really great. Yeah, I mean, because we don't do hosted SIM, we don't host the SIM, we don't host Sentinel. Sentinel is yours. Lisa's spot on, right? If you want to take your ball and go home, if you wanted to leave, or if a managed service isn't a good fit, we don't want to hold you hostage.
That's right.
No good relationship holds anyone hostage,
Exactly.
right? So we believe in a co-managed, transparent way of delivering our service, of engaging with our customers, and most importantly, with our partners. I'll go ahead and if there's questions, you can connect with us. Connect with me on LinkedIn. You can email us at Microsoft@BlueVoyant.com.
I don't see any questions from the attendees at this point, but we do have a little bit of time if there's anything else you'd like to share. Otherwise, we will be recording this and sharing with everyone that registered. So I'll leave it up to you and Lisa. Mona, yeah, I'm not seeing any questions in the window.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll just say, I mean, all the cyber insurance stuff is relatively recent to me. Like, I feel like I recently just kind of got my arms around understanding some of the business side of things. Cyber insurance has been around for a while. I actually didn't realize this, but it came from old maritime insurance, from like insuring people's boats and stuff.
Really?
So to know that some of the origins of some of the stuff came back, all the way back into maritime laws. It's kind of crazy to think about. But cyber insurance has changed. I mean, even since I started learning about it. And so I really encourage you guys to continue to stay on top of this. A lot of insurers are, partnering with different firms or doing different things to do kind of site online insurance, kind of stuff. So
Yep.
different brokers, different ways to purchase. So also just, if you do need recommendations or you're looking for a new cyber insurance provider, you don't like the one you have, you can also come to us and ask us questions about different providers, pros and cons of different ways of procuring. Certainly we don't sell cyber insurance, but we work with enough vendors, enough partners where we want to make sure that you find the right fit for both your business and your risk.
Excellent. Well, thank you, everybody. Appreciate everybody's time today, and look forward to continuing discussions with you, conversations.
And actually,
Yes,
before we go, Lisa, maybe you can just give a quick preview to what our third webinar will cover, just so that people can register for that as well.
Sure. So I think Mona and I are going to be talking about the newest threats out there, a preview into that. And we would love for folks to come with questions, kind of a panel discussion, so that we can wrap it up with more of an emphasis on the users and what you want to see. So please come with your questions, and we'll share our insights on what we see for the next year or two. And but we'd like it to be interactive.
Excellent. Well, thanks everyone for joining. There's a short survey in the window for you to tell us how we're doing and to help us improve events like this in the future. And I hope everyone joins us for the third in the series on February 2nd. Thank you, Lisa.
Great.
Mona.
Thank you. Thanks, Mona.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye, everyone. Have a great day.